Hey guys, welcome to Delta Sparks. It is a new podcast. This is the first episode. This is the inaugural first cherry poppin' episode. That is Andie. Andie, introduce yourself.
Hey guys.
That was a great introduction. So this is Andie. Andie, where can you be found on social media?
I'm Andie from Electrical. You can find me on Instagram. I'll be the girl wearing all the Milwaukee stuff.
All the Milwaukee stuff. So that's Andie period from period electrical.
Right.
No period.
Correct.
I am Evan. You can find me on Instagram at ESSparks, E.S.Sparks. So, Delta Sparks.
By the way.
You have a great account.
Yeah.
My account, it's okay.
No, stop that.
So, Delta Sparks, what the fuck is it? Delta Sparks is a podcast, two Sparkies, Andie and myself, discussing tools, work, life, and everything in between. What this isn't, it's not a code podcast. We're not going to hear, A, she's in Canada, I'm in the US.
Woo!
And B, I don't know that much about the code. I'll be honest. I know enough to keep myself for passing inspections and not burning buildings down. I am getting better at it. I am working on it. I'm listening to some other code podcasts, but that's not what this is, right?
No.
It's not a political podcast.
Oh, no.
I don't care what anyone's political views are or affiliations are. We're not here to talk about that. And we're not here to talk about religion.
No, forget that.
Those are our three no-nos. Everything else is fair fucking game. So,
let's do it.
Yeah. So, Andie, since our first podcast, give us a little background about yourself, where you came from, and I don't mean your mom, how you got into the trade. Shout out, hashtag.
Hey, Mom. So I'm Andie from Electrical, and I hail from Kitchener, Ontario. That's up
Where's
in
that?
Canada.
Canada, eh?
Canada, eh?
What's that all about?
Home of the moose and the maple syrup. Wait.
And Captain Canuck.
Oh, yeah, and Captain Canuck, you know.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what they call my kind in Canada?
I can think of some things that we call you.
Canoes.
Ah, no, I do not call you that.
Canadian Jews.
Oh, yeah, no, I was going a different direction with that. Yeah, so I am an apprentice electrician, waiting on writing my test to get my ticket. So once I get my ticket, I will be what's considered a red seal electrician, which means that I am able to work anywhere in Canada, which is pretty sweet. Yeah.
Awesome.
And what about you, Evan?
Me? Currently, I'm watching my cat lose her ever-loving mind over a twist tie.
Fair, I would too.
I hail from the great state of New Jersey.
New Jersey.
That's United States. A little south of you. I got into the trades in 2007. Been doing it ever since, with the exception of like a year and a half. I took off to try my hand at something else. I have a wife. I do things. I have colorful shirts. I don't know. And I started an Instagram account a couple months ago and have just been losing my mind ever since.
A couple months ago. Wow.
Yeah, I started it in July.
Holy, good for you.
I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm having a lot of fun and meeting a lot of awesome people like you.
Yeah, I'm glad we met, kind of.
Met through the interweb.
Crazy internet.
So we're still kind of figuring out what this podcast is going to be and what it's going to look like and how it's going to feel. But I went on and did an Instagram Live about a month and a half ago, and was just asking people, like, what are some topics that you would like to hear talked about or discussed or kind of delved into more? I'm going to give a shout out to Jamie_Rod7. Jamie's someone I've been interacting with a lot lately on Instagram, and he's a really solid dude. He sent me a list of questions. I mean, I'm surprised this guy came up with this many questions and is a tradie. Because
oh my God.
He belongs behind like running a Fortune 500 company.
Maybe that'll be us soon. He can like run our situation here.
Yes, our
Yeah.
situation. But I figured for like our first podcast, a question to kind of start a really interesting conversation would be, has being in the trades made your life better or worse, and how? And I think that's an interesting question.
It's a great question.
Um, you want to shoot? Here, you take the lead on this one.
Sure, I'll take the lead. Uh, Being in the trades definitely has made my life better. I find the amount of confidence that I have has skyrocketed. I find the community, especially on Instagram, is outstanding. Through my college program that I went to I have a technician diploma from one of the local colleges. And through that program, I have gotten into a lot of volunteering for trades in general, in high schools, in elementary schools. Specifically for me, the focus is on women in trades.
Me too.
Yeah, well, it's so important. So just through that, like I find a lot of sense of fulfillment from that as well. And I know that not being in the trades, there's no way I'd be going near any of that stuff. So that's definitely an
Yeah,
improvement.
I hear you. So like I said, I got into this in like 2007. I was like 18, about to be 19 years old. I was So I'm in recovery. I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, and I had really no path. I went to rehab instead of college. um, and when I came back from rehab and my second one, and I was like, finally, like, was doing okay, and I was doing telemarketing because
Very exciting stuff.
oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yes. The problem was is I couldn't follow the script. I just would talk to people and I would upsell the shit out of them.
That does not surprise me at all.
But apparently, the companies I was working for did not like that. So I kept getting fired. And I was at a meeting one night, an AA meeting, and I would go to this Tuesday night meeting, and there was all these guys in the local union. And I got to know them really well. And one of them was like, "Hey, listen, dude, I've heard you talking about your struggles with trying to find work. After work tomorrow, I'm going to change some ballast in this warehouse in like this really shitty area of New Jersey. Do you want to meet me there? And I'll pay you $10 to hold a flashlight." And I was like, "Sure." So, and then it just kind of took off from there. Like, no, I'm not in the union because when I started out in 2008, really 2009, there was no work because the economy took a dump. So I just stayed non-union because I could find the work. But literally since then, the trades have allowed me, or being in the trades have allowed me to do almost anything and everything that I've wanted to do or could have imagined to do. First off, like the character building thing, like if you're not at least 15 minutes early for work, you're late. Mm-hmm. I don't care what you say. If you're pulling up to the job site if your start time 7 a.m. and you're fucking drag racing and drifting through the parking lot and hitting into your spot at 7 a.m. on the nose, so for me, I always had that. But the other characteristics, the other traits, like the hard work, like stuff like that. Like both my parents are in sales. Nothing against sales. And when I told them I was going to go into the trades, I did like a 4-month school that the state paid for. And when I finished the school, my dad's like, "All right, you're going to come work for the company I work for and get into sales." And I was like, "No."
Hard no.
And he's like, we fought about this passionately. And he was like, "All right, you have 2 weeks to find a job, or else you're going to come work for my company, or else you need to find a new place to live." And I was like, "All right, bet."
Sounds fair.
Right? And I called every electrical contractor in the phone book in my area.
Wow.
Until one took a chance on me. A phone book, eh?
Wow.
Yeah. What are those? But the guy I first started working for really beat the ever-loving shit out of me, but really thickened my skin up a lot. And really helped to mold the type of electrician and man and person I would become, both what I wanted to be like and what I didn't want to be like. And I think that there's a flip side to that. Like I've moved all over the country and have been able to find work and live
Yeah.
and afford to live well with little to no education. I was able to buy a house this year and get married.
Congratulations.
To you as well. To you.
Thank
as well.
you. Thank you.
And I think I got into the trades. If I really think about it, it's because I still never knew what I wanted to do when I grew up.
Yeah.
And it's been a beautiful thing that I've been able to find something that I have become very passionate about, and that I can make a good living off of, and really just be able to punch a clock. Which,
honestly, I find that's something that us in this generation, we are so lucky to have. Yeah. I know my mom, she was a nurse at the local hospital for 35 years. So she got into her profession and that was it.
Yeah.
That was where she was for life. She's now retired and she's looking at a friend of hers might need some part-time help and she's looking about going back into nursing. So like this will be the only time I mention religion, I promise.
No, that's fine.
I have a religion degree. That's what I went to university for. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So maybe we should talk about religion.
No, we shouldn't. But so I ended up deciding. So long story short is I was in university on a wrestling scholarship.
For those in the U.S., she means college.
Yes. Sorry. And so for us, college is different as well because I did university and college. So I was there on a wrestling scholarship and I know, right? And I ended up dislocating my kneecap and that was basically the end of my university wrestling career. And so I was sitting behind my desk, sitting in class and I was like, this sucks. I do not want to do this.
Yeah.
So I'm really thankful that we're in this kind of generation that's what I went to school for and I wasn't stuck following that path. I was able to kind of figure out where my passion was.
Yeah. I think the other thing is like, and this is probably a lot more for me and a lot less for you, but because like I said, I'm in recovery, that means I was active. I was an active alcoholic and addict for a number of years on and off from a very early age. So I obviously come with some baggage, some things that would show up on a background check. And it was really like I couldn't get a job bussing tables at a Ruby Tuesdays, like a chain restaurant. Okay. It's a chain restaurant. It's like Applebee's. You've seen the movies, right? Yeah. Like a Tim Hortons, you know?
Hey, we don't bus tables there, but keep going. You're on a roll here.
So for me, it was really difficult to find employment with in a place that didn't do background checks and or B just didn't give a shit.
Right.
And I've been finding more and more. And it's funny. I was talking to an account, Joe, who's My Tools at Work.
Oh, Joe.
I love Joe. We were doing a pre-live for the holiday giveaway that we were doing before Tony came on because he was having technical issues. I don't know how we were talking about this, but I basically told him, I was like, my theory is, at least for electricians or sparkies, the crazier or more mentally defective you are, the better you are at what you do. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the correlation of that, but I'm a pretty good electrician. So I guess that means I'm pretty fucked up in the head.
I don't know what that says about me, but I'm here for it. Okay, wait, I have a question for you. So You are in your recovery journey. Mm-hmm. Is that an okay way to describe it? Is that work for you? Okay. So you said you had a journeyman who was really hard on you in your kind of first steps into electrical.
So
I want to know how did that help or hinder this recovery journey that you're on? Like, I know it'll never be a destination, so I'm going to use the word journey, but
What's a daily thing? Yeah, no, I that's a good question. So the first guy I worked for, it was actually he owned the company, and it was just me and him,
Mhm.
and he was like mid 60s,
Oh, those are the guys
old,
you want to learn from.
and I did learn a lot. He taught me a lot of very valuable skills
Mhm.
when it came to troubleshooting, when it came to roughing out houses and like basic like wiring and circuitry. But he used to throw like 1/4 inch nuts at my back from across the room. And we didn't even use 1/4 inch nuts. We were like roughing homes.
You know what? He just like kept them on hand to keep you in
He
line.
did.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly why. And then I would have to pick them up and walk them back to him.
You know
So,
what? I don't even blame him for that.
you know what? Neither do I. But it taught me a lot in terms of like life and like sometimes you just have to shut the fuck up and bear down and get through.
Yep.
Because like where I'm at now, right? Just turned 32. I own a home. I'm married. My wife just left the company she was working at for 3 years. She's got some serious medical shit going on, which I've shared about on Instagram. And her insurance is now through me. So where I used to be able to say at the drop of a hat, fuck this, I'll go find someplace better to work or someplace else to work where if I didn't like how things were going, now I can't. And that first job, I see what you did. That first job really taught me that because at the time I was living with my parents. They were driving me and dropping me off at his house, which is where the shop was.
Oh.
And then I'd have to walk 4 blocks from his shop to catch a bus to go home every day.
Evan,
Yes.
you might be a grown up now.
Oh, don't say that.
You're well on your way, pal.
Don't tell my Peter Pan tattoo that.
I will not. Your little tramp stamp.
My little tramp stamp. If you clap, you will believe. Oh my God.
I'm not even going to touch that.
Yeah, please don't. But I think in a greater sense, like it just has taught me humility. And like, guess what? I'm not the center of the universe. And like for me and my disease, like my disease likes to tell me that everyone is against me, everyone hates me, that everything's unfair and it's everyone else's fault.
Right.
And an example, like I was recording work that I was doing at a location that I'm working at for my company. And end of last week, I got told, or beginning of this week, I got told I can't record there anymore because there's proprietary technology. And I said, okay, not a problem. But I still had stuff recorded that I hadn't posted yet. Mm-hmm. I didn't think. Total judgment lapse. And I posted stuff. And Wednesday, when I left work early to go get tested, I got a call from one of the managers of my company. And they were like, I thought we told you couldn't record anymore. Ooh. And I was like, you know what? My fault. I take full ownership of that. I fucked up.
Yeah.
And I think if you can own your own shit, if that makes you an adult, then fine. That makes you an adult.
Yeah.
I still do a lot of fucked up shit. I still do a lot of stupid stuff, but I don't think that'll ever change. And right. No matter how much my wife wants that to change.
I'm so sorry for her. But I find that taking ownership for your stuff goes so far.
I think as you move up in the trades, you have to, because
you have to.
You're not a helper and apprentice anymore. If you're a journeyman and you have an apprentice working under you or apprentices, their work is your work. If you're a foreman, which I have run many jobs over the last few years, the journeymen and the apprentices, all of them working on the job, fall on you.
Yep.
And nobody wants to hear.
You look good.
Right. But nobody wants to hear. The person above me does not want to hear, it's not my fault.
Nope.
The buck stops here.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting progression because I don't think that by the time I was started to run work, if I was still the person I was years before, I would have been able to turn to the person who I'm working for, the owner of the company or the project manager, and say, you know what, that's on me. I'll get that taken care of.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting, but I think this last year has just been really interesting in terms of like working in a pandemic.
Oh.
And more so like working in a pandemic and dealing with like just the struggles of life and like the conversation that doesn't really like to be had on the job site of like, are you doing okay? Are you struggling? You know,
I had my first anxiety attack this year because of COVID.
really? Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
We have jackets.
Perfect. Can I get it like
embroidered?
Like,
you get a dash for every one, and then for everyone you recover from, you get a brown paper bag patch.
Sweet. I'm just going to be covered in them by the end of this pandemic.
Yeah, right.
My God. But yeah, so just how you're talking about working through the pandemic, as some of you who follow my Instagram may know, I spent 2 weeks off at the very beginning. I actually took a trip down to Austin, Texas. Hey, Michelle. And I went back to work. I was fine. The next week, I stayed home from work with a headache on the Monday morning. I get pretty bad headaches. And just like that, I was home for 2 weeks. So I was off for 2 weeks. That was fine. No other symptoms. It was an isolated event, and I was all right. And I went back to work, and the amount of protocols that our job site had put in were both staggering in how different it was, but also staggering in how lax it was, I want to say. I was very nervous coming back. I remember the first thing on that Monday I was back, I came into the trailer and I sat down and I couldn't breathe. I felt like someone was sitting on my chest, and I didn't know what was happening. I almost left work because I didn't think I could get through it. But I did.
It's tough. You did.
I did. I got day one.
You know, this pandemic, whether you believe in it or not, and I'm not going to get into that, there are rules in place in both of our countries. There are mandates that you have to follow. It's the law. The law is the law. You know, it's hard enough to get guys to keep their hard hats on jobs, try to keep their masks on or their gaiters. You know, for me, I was running a job in Bergen County, New Jersey, which was like the epicenter of the pandemic here in New Jersey. And it was only second to New Rochelle, New York, which was the epicenter of our country at the time. Oh. And they're about 30 minutes apart.
Yikes. When was this? Give me a ballpark.
This was February.
Okay. This was like right at the beginning. Okay.
Right at the beginning. My wife was out of work after being in the hospital for 2 weeks from middle of November to end of January.
Okay.
She was out sick. She was on FMLA. And then she went back part-time just so she could keep her medical benefits. I'm running a job in Bergen County, and I'm freaking out because my wife's now on medications that just basically obliterate her immune system. Yeah. And there's so much information about this COVID-19, but you don't know what to believe.
No, that's it.
Because like there's no concrete anything.
Yeah.
You know, they're saying drink bleach, don't drink bleach, you know.
Canada has never once said drink bleach, just putting that out there.
Okay.
Please continue.
Drink maple syrup, they said. Okay.
But we've always said that.
That is true.
Pandemic or no pandemic, we always drink maple syrup.
But there was just so much information, misinformation.
And it changes day to day.
Well, that's funny you say that.
Factual one day, the next day is.
So on a Monday night, the county executor for Bergen County went on the news and said, we're shutting the county down Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. I didn't know that. I go to work Tuesday morning, and the job super comes up to me who's running the site, and he's like, so we're all packing everything up. Plumbers, electricians, HVAC, site crew, the masons, pack up your shit. Either we're boarding up the building, your material and your tools can stay, or they got to be out of here today. And I'm like,
excuse me?
Yeah, squeeze me? What? And so there's a mad dash. I had to send an apprentice back to the shop to pick up a box truck, and we're loading gang boxes and blah, 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 blah. And my boss came in that day and laid everyone off.
Ugh.
The whole company. There was only about 20 of us.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that. I knew, okay, I've been working. I have unemployment benefits that I can collect.
In long term, I bet it was easier for you, like being home, right?
But he laid everyone off and kept me working for like another 2 weeks. And the crazy part is he kept me working, going into people's homes.
Oh.
And then back to that same job site, because guess what? The county now wasn't shut down because the state said that you can't shut down the county. We have to shut down the state. You can't make a call. It was this whole, clusterfuck.
Yeah.
And finally I said, listen, dude, you laid me off. I'm on that job site again. The Masons are back. 2 of them have COVID right now. And my boss at the time, now I no longer work for this company. My boss at the time said, well, you have a mask on, right? What are you worried about? And I said, you laid me off. I have the paperwork. I'm going to take this layoff until there are proper procedures in place.
Right. Until I feel comfortable, right? That comes into your refusing unsafe work, right?
Exactly. And non-union, that's very shunned upon.
Yeah.
But I took a month off until I was forced to come back. And I was ready to come back. But like you said, there were all these signs saying masks and gloves and glasses. Oh my. But were they being enforced?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm there with a bottle of disinfectant spray before I get in my car after work, spraying myself down tip to toe. Mm-hmm. And all my tools, people are like, hey, can I borrow your tools? I'm like, get the fuck away from my tools.
Do not touch them. Hands off.
I'm typically like that, but.
So you guys had masks on in like March, April? Am I kind of right in my timeline?
Yeah. So
I was laid off in beginning of September, end of August. We did not have masks on. On job sites at that point.
But here's the thing.
Isn't that wild?
People had masks on around their necks, half of them.
Yeah.
They said, oh, it's on. I don't know what the fuck you want from me.
Yeah.
It's like, how about you stop being a piece of shit?
Yeah.
Like, you want to be the guy or the person who's just like, oh, I'm doing what you say. You want to be a Karen? Well, be a Karen. Okay? I don't fucking mind. I'll call Karen a Karen.
Yeah.
But honestly, this really played into the mental health part of it for me. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm in recovery, but I also have other things that I suffer from depression. I suffer from anxiety. They both play a part in my addiction. I relapsed in September after my longest period of sobriety was 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And then I went out and I came back and I had about 2.5 years of sobriety. And I actually left the industry altogether. I had an opportunity to go work for a company that provided outpatient services for people who were trying to get sober and clean.
Oh, wow.
Funny story, that's how I met my wife. She's the therapist. We didn't work together, but...
I was like, that might be a little...
Yeah, no. The company worked with adults and adolescents. She worked with the adolescents, but we met and... here we are.
Yeah.
But I worked myself to the bone in that job. I stopped taking care of myself. Self-care, I think, is a really important thing that you don't hear talked a lot about in the trades that you hear talked about in a lot of other industries. Like you work in an office, they're like, you got to get up every... Okay, so Andie from Electrical, I always think of Andie from The Office because I'm a huge Office fan.
I think I'm a little cuter, but that's still debatable. Maybe.
I mean, that Ed Helms, he's a real dreamboat.
Oh, I'll say.
Andie and the tuna. I remember an episode where they were talking about, it was safety day.
Mm-hmm.
They did the warehouse training, and then they did the office training. And Toby's reading out of the manual. You need to take your eyes away from the screen for 10 minutes every hour. You need to stand up and walk around and do some movements 10 minutes out of every hour. And there's all these things that they had to do. And they're like, wait, what? Like, if you add all those up, that's an hour. And he's like, no, you can do them at the same time. But like one of those things they talked about was self-care.
Mm-hmm. Well, I find it's something not just in the trade that for a lot of men, it's not talked about at all.
Big time. I got to give a shout out to Sparky Sean 58
for
being a real soldier, for talking about mental health in a very open and honest way.
Yeah, it's refreshing.
It is. Yeah. For majority of my career, if you were expressing a feeling in the trade, you would be called a pussy, mm-hmm. or a bitch, or something worse. If you don't know me, if you don't follow my page, if you don't see the shirt I'm wearing, I'm not your atypical guy. I don't think many people are that atypical person. I think thinking of things or people in that way boxes us off from growing and changing and progressing.
For sure.
The shirt I'm wearing is by a company called Trade Mutt. Here's another thing of theirs, their hat.
God, I love that hat.
I know, right? Should I swap it?
No, absolutely not. Well, sure.
Well, no, because I'm wearing an awesome hat too.
Yeah.
But Trade Mutt is a company, an outerwear, workwear company out of Australia, who their mission is to create a community where people can talk about mental health in the trades, or just mental health in general. Mm-hmm. The back of their shirts say, I don't know if you can see it right here.
Just above your tramp stamp. Yeah. It says,
my tramp stamp.
This is a conversation starter. Is that what it says?
Yes, exactly. It says this is a conversation starter. And their whole idea is this is a work shirt. It's got the two mm-hmm. pockets, it buttons, right? But it's like somebody sees this on a job site and they're like, this is a conversation starter? What the fuck does that mean? Mm-hmm. Well, I bought this shirt. Okay. I put this shirt on because I am choosing to try to progress the trade into the 21st or 22nd century. Yeah. There's been far too many people I knew who have killed themselves, and far too many people who have overdosed because they were too afraid to ask for help. Mm-hmm. So if somebody asks me while I'm wearing the shirt at work, what is that all about? I'm going to say, this shirt is designed to create a conversation to let you know that it's okay to talk about if you're struggling with mental health. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
Because by doing that, you're basically putting it on them to accept if they're going to continue the way they're going to continue.
Right.
Or they're actually going to say, you know what? They might not be struggling, but they might say, hey, good on you. Mm-hmm. Or they may actually open up.
Right.
It
may open up their minds to talk to somebody else about it too, right?
Exactly. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be you. Talk to somebody. But mm-hmm. that job I worked, that I left the trade for a year and a half, part of that job was I was 24/7 accessible for people who were struggling.
Okay.
People who relapsed or were going to do something dangerous, mm-hmm. To go meet them, to pick them up, to find them, to get them help.
That's exhausting.
It is. And that's partially why I got burnt out and ended up not taking care of myself. And I ended up relapsing, and I walked away from that. And luckily, because I had spent so many years doing electrical work and being in a trade, within 2 days, I had a job.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Very lucky.
And
a lot of people don't have that option, right?
No, not at all. And it's not like I was found out. I relapsed, and I said I can't, in good conscience, continue to work in a role that I'm being looked at as somebody who's a peer who has been doing this for a certain period of time.
Right.
But I think that's also something that I learned in the trades and in recovery, that like my word is my bond. Honesty is the only thing I'll ever truly have that you can't put a price tag on.
Right.
That is worth everything, but as soon as you're found to be dishonest, is worth absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that accountability, right?
Yeah. But through this amazing IG trade community, meeting you, meeting some other people, meeting Michelle from the driver back, I just happened to be wearing this hat. Me and Michelle on Saturday night, my wife was sick. She was sleeping on the couch. I was watching football. And me and Michelle started talking about, I don't even know what, like just bullshitting back and forth. And next thing I know, it's 3 hours later of us sending back and forth voice messages on Instagram Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to know some serious parts about her story and vice versa.
She's got a great story, doesn't she?
She does. And that's something and that's something that you can't put a price tag on.
No.
So even though this pandemic has made this a very difficult year or two.
Yeah. But building the most character, right?
This is a character building.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
If you can make it through this period and come out the other side going, maybe not even I'm better than I was, but at least I'm not worse.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's I've survived. This is some of the worst things that we could ever go through, a global pandemic. And like, for me, I am such a social creature. Do you know how much I miss hugs? I miss hugs so bad.
Well, that's why you have your cat.
Yeah. Well, he is very clawy, so it doesn't always get reciprocated.
Beggars can't be choosers. Okay.
Right. I miss human hugs, Mr. Nitpicker. But I find for me, that's been the most challenging is I don't see my friends. I don't go out. I don't play soccer. I don't have casual drinks with people after work now because
I thought you were going to say something else. And I was like, I think you're married, aren't you?
I am. I love my husband very much. So we've been going through the toughest time for our actual in-person community. So I'm so happy that we have this virtual community through Instagram and through all our tradespeople. So I'm really grateful for that.
Me too. I don't think if it wasn't for the pandemic, I would have ever ended up on Instagram in the way I did and connecting with people, connecting with you, with creating this podcast. And like I said, I'm always grateful for situations where I can have to adapt and evolve.
Yep.
Because that's the only thing I've ever been guaranteed in life. Is like there will be consistently situations that used to baffle you that you will have to learn how to overcome if you want to continue to grow as a person.
Well, that works for electricians too. Lots of situations as apprentices that you have to go through to learn to get where you want to be, getting to write your ticket and wherever you want to go past that.
Yeah, and that brings us all the way back to, has been working in the trades made your life better or worse?
Yes. Better. It's made it better.
It's made it better.
Yes.
And if it hasn't...
You know what, Evan? I'll go on record saying that.
Oh, shit.
Right.
You've heard it here, folks. Andie, electrical period, has gone on record saying that the working in the trades has, in fact, made her life better.
That's right. Direct quote.
Well, it's made my life a lot better, for sure. I want to thank Andie for agreeing to be my co-host and my co-captain on this Delta Sparks podcast. I want to thank everyone who has supported both of our pages
Thanks, guys.
over the short or long period of time that our accounts have been up. And I want to thank everyone who took the time to listen to this podcast.
And listened all the way through.
Yeah. Oh, my God. This is going to be on Spotify. If you're listening to it on Spotify, you know that. We're going to throw it up on IGTV. It's also going to be on the Anchor app, I believe, or some app. We'll put some details out there into the webosphere. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to DM either myself or Andie. This is, kitty butthole.
Oh, yeah. That's the clawy one.
Ooh.
Not his butthole, as far as I know, but like the claws are like on his paw. Okay, let's wrap her up.
Let's wrap her up. So thank you. I'm eternally grateful for this, and I've had a blast doing this. And we will see you guys next month.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Same time, same place. Catch you later.